Ever experienced the hurt of betrayal? Indeed, I have. You cannot tell me you want to be with other guys and yet profess to love me. You don't deserve anything more than I do, therefore you can't tell me that after 20 years of marriage you deserve a little more. I am worthy of your affection, respect, faithfulness, and commitment. I went to my wife. Our world fell apart at her confession. This is my narrative. Enjoy watching it, Brad said. Vicky questioned, what if I said I wanted to see someone else? Trying not to seem too concerned, Brad said, wow, where did that come from? Is this a big talk kind of thing? Are we just talking, or is this for real? Vicky and Brad had been sitting outdoors, taking in the beauty of the evening. This night was similar to a lot of previous evenings they spent together. With a flat but serious voice, Vicky said, what if it's not just talking? Brad's heart gave him a shock. This conversation wasn't inane. He understood after 20 years that Vicky didn't ask questions like that carelessly. He cleared his throat and said, what now? His voice strained. He said, do you need to ask after all our years together? Yes, please. I'd like to hear your thoughts, she added after pausing. She attempted to joke, well, this is unexpected, but Brad realized this was serious. They had never previously made any kind of suggestion about it. I'd say it's shocking, Vicky. Have you found someone else? Is that why we're talking about this? Vicky faced him, her expression abruptly stern. It's not like that, Brad? Really? But asking that makes it feel like you're looking to replace me. You don't play games, Vicky. So, are you saying I'm not enough? Just bringing this up makes me think you're not happy. So, have you found someone else? Vicky seemed anxious. No, not really. I guess I just wanted to know how you'd feel, she said. It's not easy, Brad. Brad gave a headshake. He never imagined that he would speak with his wife like way. It's way more than just a question, you know that. Okay, skip the silly reasons for cheating then. You can't say you love me and then want others. You can't say you earned a bit extra after 20 years because you don't deserve more than I do. And I deserve your love, respect, trust, and to be the only one. You can't say it won't hurt us because it will, and it already has. You can't say it's just for fun because it's not. It's cheating on me, breaking promises. You can't say I can trust you after because you won't be the same person. You'll be someone who doesn't care for me, stay true to me, or stay with me. Someone I can't trust or care for anymore. You'd be a stranger, and not someone I want in my life. So, your simple question. Cheat on me, and we're done. That's how mad I'll be. That's what I thought you'd say, Brad? But is it cheating if you say it's okay? Seriously, Vicky? Is that worth asking? I think so, Brad. It's not for me to say it's okay to cheat. Keeping your promise is up to you. You stay true, or you break it and end us. Your call. I don't get a say. You don't love me enough to let me do this. Brad chuckled. Why did you even think that way? It's not love if one of you messes up the bond. Love is when you stand strong and say no way to breaking what we have. Anything less is just not caring. Not caring. Yep, Vicky, not caring. To let it slide would be like me saying I don't care about you, us, our home, or our kids. Like saying you mean nothing to me, my life, or my dreams. Like saying do whatever you want, I won't bother. Like I don't care about you at all. That's not caring, Vicky, from both sides. It's clear I can't see it your way. Brad, that seems pretty old school, huh? There's no old school. You're smart and grown up. You choose how much our bond means to you, how much I mean, and staying with me. I shouldn't even have to say I wouldn't be okay with you picking someone else. And I shouldn't have to say it would end us if you did. So, I ask again, did you find someone to take my place? He wouldn't be a replacement, Brad. Yes, he would, Vicky. To me, he really would be. Some might be okay with adding more people in, but not me. I never was, never will be. I chose to be with you, make a life with you, have kids and get old together, just you. Your own choice to bring someone else in would be the end for us. No space for more in what we have. I don't share, Vicky. I never did, never will. I haven't done anything yet, Brad. Yes, you have. Clearly, you have. No more playing around. Deep down, you've decided you want something else, something not me, someone not me. Really, how far did you go with this? I think you're making a big deal out of nothing, Brad. I don't think so. You wouldn't talk about this if you hadn't picked someone, made a plan, and started something. So, how far did it go? Vicky gave voice to a deep sigh. She stopped, then nodded slightly. Okay, fine. Yes, there's someone I thought about having a quick thing with, someone I know. So you chose to make things bad for us, too. Stop, Brad. I wouldn't make you feel bad on purpose. That's just you being upset. That's right, Vicky. Don't try that tired line about someone being too sensitive. We all have pride. It's part of who we are. Hurt that pride, and you hurt everything someone thinks of themselves, their value, their respect for themselves, all gone. How can you say you love someone but tear down what makes them them? Where's the love in hurting them like that? Vicky said nothing. Brad removed his hand from Vicky's. How far did you go with this person, Vicky? He said. Vicky felt depressed as she saw him turn away and looked down. Vicky, you've put a lot of thought into this, but not very good thought. You knew how I'd feel. You always knew. You probably spent more time making excuses for lying. Now tell me, how far did it go with this person? She expected to see envy or rage when she glanced into her husband's eyes. Rather, she observed melancholy. Why aren't you mad, Brad, or jealous? Do you think I'm not worth the effort? Brad was taken aback by her question. Fight. Are we kids? The silliest thing a man can do is chase a woman who doesn't want him. That's just crazy. At this point, you should be trying harder to keep me. I haven't done anything wrong all through our marriage. I didn't harm us. You can't say the same now. So, how deep are you in this with him? Vicky sighed as she wiped her nose and turned to face the pool. Not deep, Brad. Not as much as you might think. In the last 4 months, I've returned his flirts, I've had lunch with him a lot, I've gotten used to him, and I've shared, private stuff. Private stuff? You mean you've talked about things we should have kept to ourselves? Yes, Brad. It wasn't on purpose at first, but it happened. I'm that comfortable with him. I trust him and like him a lot. I find him very attractive. I see. So you admit you've been unfaithful in your heart. How far did you go in other ways? Well, too far. I would say we haven't slept together, but it's heading that way. It's pretty close, really. We've talked about going further. You're planning it, right? That's what you mean. Yes, Brad. We've made plans, sort of. Kind of, he said in a lifeless voice. Yes, sort of. Not set in stone, but we both agree we want this to happen. Good that you didn't say you needed it. Is he married? I won't tell you that, Brad. I won't say who he is. I get it. You want to leave me guessing who among the men I know is betraying me. You don't see that as shameful. I have to suspect every man I meet, wondering if he's with my wife secretly. That's some kind of love. It's more like not caring. No respect for me, no staying true to me, and no care for being loyal to me. At least you're upfront about your reasons for wanting him, selfish as they are. I don't see it your way, Brad. I think you're wrong, overreacting. I'm just an extra to you now, hardly there. Our marriage is an extra for you, too. With all your intelligence, I thought you'd consider the consequences of playing around. Forget that. Wanted or not, you've made yourself and this other person the important thing in your life. This isn't messing around, Brad. Yes, it is. You said it yourself, you've been connected to this person for a time. Do you honestly believe that the fact that we haven't shared a bed is the only instance of cheating? It's not. What destroys love is the heart stuff. It eliminates all regard and trust. What hurts the most is when you deceive with your heart. Acting is only the icing on the cake. What do you believe this will eventually do to us then? Jesus, Brad, you're going too far. Perhaps to you. That seems accurate to me. However, you think it goes far too far. I don't see any negative consequences from my spending some time with him in the near future. Yes, but not right now. So you're not actually thinking at all. You've lost my respect because you're so focused on getting what you want. I can't take that, Brad. It doesn't matter what you now think. What then is the plan? Leaving. A trip for the weekend. Alone on holidays. What is wrong with your new partner? Tell me, Vicky, please. Vicky winced and exhaled deeply. 2 weeks in Aruba, beginning next Saturday. At 6 in the morning, we take an early flight. Aruba? Yes. Well, it's finished already, Brad understood. Seems like it, Vicky gave a nod. Vicky, wow. Do you ever consider other people? How could I have gotten this from you? Even so, who are you? Brad, please calm down. It's not too horrible. He lost all composure. Do you really think this is all right? You're not correct. You have wasted 20 years on a fleeting relationship. Why? It's not like that, Brad. Well, that's not necessary. Simply said. Just enjoyable. Vicky, you are so silly. Things is absurd to assume that's the only way you see things. What comes next? You are an individual. Are you also going to hurl it at me? That's all it is, Brad, just a bit of fun. To Vicky, how are you? Just to you. How will we inform our children? Considering that their mother put her family before herself, how do you think they'll feel? They know already. They are aware. To what extent? Everything. The journey as well. They were aware from the beginning. I wasn't secretive about it. From the beginning. His tone had become quite quiet. Yes. So they knew at our 20th anniversary. They remained silent. For me, they kept it quiet. You questioned them. They were unaffected. They did at first. Then they decided it would be irrelevant. Brad, the times have changed. They exist in this new reality. To them, it is not a huge issue. Nothing is being lost by them. We'll be the same people in 3 weeks. Nothing will make that different. Simply consider it. I'm simply taking some time for myself and a buddy, Brad. I'm not leaving. That's it. If you don't allow it, it won't hurt. Brad got up, saying, You're dumb if you think I'd say yes to this. Vicky pulled out his phone, and phoned his two children, who were both attending the same university, and they quickly answered. Trying not to lose his temper, he said, "Mark, Jennifer, your mom and I are having a talk about Aruba." Mark sprang in. He wasn't surprised. After all, his mother had instructed him and his sister on how to approach their father about it, so he knew she was going to tell him tonight. "Yes," Brad said in a tense voice, "you were aware of your mother's scheme." Calmly, Jennifer said, "We did, Dad. She's been telling us for months. How come you didn't tell me? I should have a right to know that your mother wishes for us to be divorced. Are you indifferent?" Brad was agitated. Mark said, "Dad, it's all right. This kind of thing occurs, particularly in long-term relationships. It's not too horrible. Unwind a little. Calm down. Do you agree with him, Jennifer?" Jennifer added, "We promised Mom we'd let her tell you. She really wants this, even though it's not great. All right? Dad, she's earned a little independence. It may sting to feel as if we don't value you, but that is untrue." After hanging up, Brad switched off his phone and said, "Won this. So my kids believe they can also turn on me. Are they okay with you ruining our family, our marriage and me? At our anniversary, they smile and declare their love for me, but they never show me any devotion or respect." Whoa. Brad, relax. You're exaggerating the little details. "Wife, I can't tell you how much you've let me down." Brad sent his spouse a look. "It's not cool that you also won the youngsters onto your side. Whoa, you people have stolen what I hold dear. You've abandoned all that matters to me." Brad got up and moved away from her, toward the edge of the pool. Vicky answered her phone, still staring at Brad, and it was Jennifer. "Jen, not right now. You wait for a while with your brother. Your dad is furious, yes. Right now, more at you two than at myself. Simply wait. It will not be simple to soothe him. No, I'm not going to back down. Whatever." Vicky shut up the phone as soon as Brad stepped in, considering to follow him but deciding to let him alone. "You and Mark need to wait." Brad disregarded her as he went to his office, closed the door, and logged on to the family computer. He quickly checked the bank online and discovered a new shock. Vicky had used their joint credit cards to partially finance the trip to Aruba, not all of it, but enough, and she wanted to cheat and make him pay for it. Now that he was furious, he paid off their joint credit cards, cancelled them, and transferred all of the money from their joint bank accounts to his own. He then changed the username and password for his personal bank accounts, knowing that he would have to wait until Monday to visit the bank and empty the safe box he had. Then he looked at his stock account. He and Vicky each had our own, his was fine, so he just changed the username and password. Then he looked at the trust for the children's school funds. Brad had complete control over it. He took all of it, transferring $600,000 to his own bank. His children were grown and could pay their own fees, or their mother could assist them. He was no longer concerned. After that, he made an attempt to get into Vicky's computer things in the hopes of discovering who she was meeting on the side. But then he gave up, asking himself whether it really mattered who the other person was, or if Vicky had made this decision on her own. Then Brad thought of another idea. He wasn't stupid, even though Vicky thought he was. In their marriage, at least, he might have missed clues that things were going south, but that was personal. In business, you sometimes had to play dirty to win. Part of that was giving gifts or bribes, and hiding those from the tax authorities meant having money stashed away in foreign countries. Brad had 4 of these accounts, one of which was for him alone. He even had credit cards for it, stored in his desk. After giving it some more thought, He went back to his bank's website and scheduled the transfer of all of his funds from his main bank to his distant bank for Tuesday night. He had time for the trust fund money to transfer to his account, but he paused, reconsidering. In a new window, Brad stopped the transfer to his bank and chose an offshore account, setting the transfer for midnight. Sure, there would be a trail of where the money went, but neither the IRS nor a US court could access that money because he had paid the required amount, so there would be no issues from them. He then went back to his bank website, set the transfer for midnight, and clicked proceed. After that, he checked his investment account. Closing it would mean losing some money, but he moved the remaining offshore for midnight as well, so his money was safe for the time being. The business was set up as an LLC, so technically he was not the boss. His job was just like any other employee, with his parents as the owners. Vicky might fight for it in a divorce, but she had no real claim. The business would be in his parents' names, safe from her. They would never support her. The plan was to keep it safe until his parents could sell. Brad heard Vicky at the door, asking if he was okay. He stayed quiet. She discovered the door locked, gave up after attempting a few times, and left, probably believing he would meet her outside later. "Yes, Dad, I am whispering. Are you able to hear me clearly? All right? The ancient home, is it empty? I need it. I'm leaving Vicky behind. She's spent some time with someone else. Though they didn't tell me until I questioned them, Mark and Jennifer were aware of it." After hanging up the phone, Brad whirled in his chair and yanked out a bunch of folders from the file cabinets, grabbing his passport, his car's papers, his old army papers, the house's deed, and his last 3 years' worth of tax returns. He packed all of these folders into his briefcase, slid the originals back into the cabinet, and copied everything else, stuffing the folders about his business into it as well. He paused, considering what else he might need, before turning back to his computer. The phone plan was under his name, so he went ahead and cut off the phones for Vicky and the kids, setting it to stop at midnight. Both kids had cars he was paying for, not anymore. His wife, who made him so mad, could take care of those bills now. Next, he went into his insurance stuff. He removed Vicky, Mark, and Jennifer from the car insurance. Let Vicky handle it on her own, including paying for the kids. He made sure to take Vicky off as the person who would get money if something happened to him, putting his parents instead. He found a thumb drive in his desk and copied all the needed files from the computer onto it. He put more stuff into his case. After grabbing all he wanted, he wiped the computer clean and set it up with a simple Windows. Vicky would have to pay someone to get it back how it was. She'd lose a lot of her apps. Vicky didn't like laptops, so she left hers at work. She'd need to wait till Monday or go get it. He turned off his own laptop, got its cord, and made another call with clear orders. Then Brad locked his case, took his laptop and cord, and left the office. He didn't look for Vicky. He grabbed the extra car key from the wall, opened the garage, and unlocked his fancy car. He threw his stuff in the trunk. Next, Brad grabbed 2 big bags from the garage and filled them with clothes and suits. For an hour in the bedroom, Vicky never came to check on him. He thought she might be outside, but he didn't mind. He took his wallet, keys, his tablet, and all the cords before leaving the room. He put the bags in the car's trunk and the suits in the back seat. He thought hard, wondering if he forgot anything. Then it hit him. He remembered one last thing he needed. His parents gave him a small, very old bottle of scotch for his birthday. He hadn't opened it, but he knew he couldn't leave it. Brad went back into the house, grabbed the bottle, and also took 3 shiny glasses from the drink shelf. Then he thought, why not? He went to the garage and found some boxes for moving bottles. He and Vicky loved their fancy wine, so he didn't want to leave it all behind. He also grabbed 3 tall wine glasses. Brad packed the boxes well, then took them to his car, placing them on the back seat. He didn't even bother to shut the house door to the garage. Brad got in his car, opened the garage door, and drove off, leaving the garage door open. Vicky was nowhere to be seen. Vicky had been waiting outside for him to come back. She knew he would, it would just take some time for him to cool off to talk more. She and Brad always spoke up during fights, and really, this was just a fight. No different from any other time they didn't agree. None of those past fights had ever hurt their bond, and in all their years together, he had never stayed mad at her for too long. Brad had every reason to be mad about what she told him. Yes, he did. It was to be expected and something they could deal with. She wouldn't blame him for feeling how he must be feeling now. God, if she were in his shoes, she would be heartbroken, completely torn apart. But Brad was stronger in his feelings than she was. He had always been. He was the strong one in her life. But still, there was no easy way to tell him, and she didn't think she had made her plans as clear as she could have. At least she told him early. It would have been much worse if he found out later. He had 6 days to think about it, 6 days to cool off and remember their marriage was still strong. Brad knew. He had to know how much she loved him. To her, there was no better man on earth, and he knew she thought so. Even though they had both always said they would only be with each other, she wasn't joking when she pointed out things are different these days. Time moves on. People change how they think. Getting older means your mind changes too, but that doesn't mean love changes. That stays the same. She loved Brad and always would. This little thing she wanted to do was just a tiny bump in life. It was not a big deal. The kids, however, that was a bit mean of her, that was something that would really hurt him and not in a way that he would get over quickly. She was just his wife, but those kids were his flesh and blood, he'd done everything for them, loved them, pushed them to be their best, been whatever they needed, and never once complained. Yeah, using the kids like that was low, but Brad might never let that go, but she could handle it. The kids were essential to her plan. If he stayed away for the next 6 days, he would be so alone that he would have to witness how sad life would be without his family. Brad was a man who needed people around him, especially his family, so he would be angry and hurt for about 6 days, but he would then reach out to the kids, and they would make him stay. It was difficult for Brad, but Vicky guessed fairly well what he was doing in his office, which was making sure his money was safe. That made sense. Brad was a smart and careful man. He was probably also considering spending a few days in a hotel. She knew this would happen. Brad needed to experience what it was like to be alone. He couldn't be away from his family for too long. In his heart, he needed them as much as they needed him. Vicky was certain Brad would consider leaving. He would discuss it, perhaps even declare his intention to do so. He might even begin to leave her, but would that be the end of things? Vicky didn't think so. Not over a small mistake. Why she felt so certain, she couldn't say, but she was. She would enjoy herself, then confront whatever Brad decided when she got back. He wondered if she considered the long-term implications of this. She had thought about it for months, speculating about how Brad would respond. Brad was a proud man, and he could be as stubborn as they come, but she knew that his stubbornness wouldn't last. It never did. Now, in 20 years, things would change between them, but not all change is bad. Yes, he would trust her less now, but they could work that out over time. Plus, she had an idea. Brad could spend 2 weeks with her sister, Sarah. Brad liked Sarah a lot, and to be honest, Sarah was more attractive and charming than Vicky anyhow. Sarah had agreed to spend 2 weeks with Brad in order to ease his hurt feelings, so it would be nearly equal, at least. Brad would appreciate the thought even if he declined. Vicky's mind went back to why she was doing this. It wasn't like she had to, and she wasn't head over heels for the guy she picked. Yeah, he was nice to look at, smart, had a great way about him, and could make her laugh. She did trust him a lot. He was charming and likely would be fun to be around. It wasn't about looks at all. Then what? Not bored with life, that's for sure. Not unhappy with her love life either. Brad was good in that area. She wasn't trying to patch up any emotional holes Brad couldn't fill. Heck, her life with Brad for 20 years was better than she'd ever dreamed. So why? Vicky let out a sigh. The truth was she didn't have a good reason, nothing worth making sense of at least. It came down to seeing if she could do it and getting Brad to be okay with it. A test. Stupid for sure, careless yes, cold yes, even cruel. Could she lose her marriage? Maybe. It was a risk. Was it worth it? No. But she was going for it anyway. Why then? She couldn't really tell, and that bugged her a bit, not enough to stop her. Vicky would have felt better about her choice if she really knew why she was doing it. She didn't, but she was ready to go through with it. Brad would end up hurt, but Sarah would help heal some of that hurt. Heck, she might even be better in bed than Vicky herself, another gamble. Vicky didn't get why she loved risk so much. It was a mystery to her. She planned to spend 2 weeks with her lover, then go back to Brad. She was sure she'd never leave Brad for anyone, and she didn't worry about getting sick or having a baby. She and her lover were careful, tests and all. Sure, it was a bit wild but not totally crazy. She sighed, wondering where Brad had gone. He should have returned. So she set out to find him. She wasn't surprised to find the garage and office doors wide open. His car was gone, just as she had assumed it might be. How long would he be gone? She noticed he had taken a number of clothes from their bedroom, and in the living room, she noticed the missing alcohol, some wine and that large bottle of scotch from his parents. This wasn't Brad, he didn't drink to cope with his problems. This was a new side of him. Brad arrived at his parents' old house ahead of schedule, having organized everything into the appropriate rooms even before they arrived. The 1910 house was in good condition despite being old, and his father, Aaron, had spent a lot of money fixing it up over the years. It was a large, comfortable Victorian house in a nice neighborhood, with 2 stories and 2,500 square feet of living space, complete with functional fireplaces. His parents thought the house was too big for them now, so they reduced the number of team members living there, but they kept it to allow only a small number of people to live there. Brad had considered purchasing the house from his parents, but Vicky was adamantly against it, feeling uneasy about it, calling it the Halloween house, and finding it unsettling. He laughed, not very happily, at a tap on the door, and 10 minutes or so later, his parents entered. "Are you here, Brad? When did you purchase your pickup vehicle, Brad?" His father yelled inside. Brad exited the kitchen to give his mother a hug and give his father a handshake. "Possess a truck?" His father inquired once again. "No, Dad," he said, stepping away from his mother. "It's just for display. Some of my security crew brought it here for me. It's one of my new cars. Perhaps Vicky will stop by and see the vehicle, leading her to believe that someone else lives here." "Well, that's clever," his mother said. "Now, what's this about Vicky cheating?" she insisted. After moving into the kitchen, they all began unloading the food that Brad's parents had provided. "Son, there is more in the vehicle. We've got coffee, cups, and a Keurig for you. I'm not sure what you can utilize that is here. Aaron, grab it. I have to hear what Brad has to say." I'll assist him. Mom, I didn't tell him everything, and I'd rather just say it once. Before enough, they were all seated around the kitchen table, sipping steaming coffee, and after Brad had completed his tale, his parents' faces went from pale to flushed. They had been relatively young when they had given birth to him, and now they were in their late 50s, vibrant and robust. Brad, dear, I want to yell every mean word at your wife. She said heatedly, I would too if your dad didn't get so upset by bad words. With a backward glance at her, Aaron arched an eyebrow. Oh, Aaron, please stop. You are aware that my use of foul language bothers you. Well, yes, it does upset me, but maybe just this once, it's okay, he said. It sure is, Grace growled, but I won't do it. Mom, thank you. Right or wrong, it's not worth it. And the kids were aware of everything. May I ask? She inquired. Yes, 4 months ago, right from the beginning. They claimed to know Vicky and to be comfortable with her. They believe she is entitled. Kids these days, what's wrong with them? Grace said, practically spitting out her words. Brad, you need to have given them more discipline when they were younger. Shaking his head, Brad said, have you ever used a belt on me? Did you ever hurt your dad or me? He inquired. She fired back. No. There you have it. What awful children. The things they've done are appalling. Okay, Grace, calm down, his father urged. Let's think of how we can help. All right, but I might still use a belt on them later. Grace, I'll assist, but later, please. Are you staying here, Brad? He inquired. Yes, if I can. This house is yours as long as you need, forever even, his mother said. Thank you, Mom, although I doubt I'll be here for very long. Perhaps a week. I need some alone time, maybe a short trip. Maybe 2 months. I was just wondering, Aruba. Are you going there to find them and deal with that guy? His mother said wistfully. No, Mom, not Aruba. Are you acquainted with Vicky's partner? Nope, and to be honest, I don't want to know. Do you think you'll be able to let Vicky go? Perhaps apply makeup? No, Papa? They have been dating for 4 months. Claims that they haven't shared a bed. However, do you think she's telling the truth? Daddy, it's not important. This was her strategy. We have violated our marital vows. At our 20th, she pretended that we were content. The children knew as well and cooperated. Those kids, Grace barked. A divorce, then? His father inquired. It seems so. I want to consult a lawyer once I sort some things out. My finances will be destroyed by divorce. I detest the thought of compensating Vicky for what she did. I rearranged my finances and redirected my life insurance to you and your mother. The kids' college money is no longer there. Vicky can handle things, or the children can go to work. Not anymore, thank you. Transfer my funds to a foreign account. So, what? Brad's mother inquired. We've saved some cash for their graduation gifts. That's your call, Mom, your money. Brad, that's just it. I'd rather not give it to them. They're not worthy of it, she stated passionately. You have that option. Your grandchildren are those. You are not wounded by them. Brad, that is untrue. Our kid was harmed by them, Dad claimed. Brad just shrugged and said, it's still up to you. Brad's phone rang on the table, catching his attention briefly before he examined it and gave it some attention. Did Vicky answer the phone? Mark, no. I have blocked both her and Jennifer's numbers. Right now, I don't need to hear them. Were there any messages they left you? Yes, from the young ones. Voicemails. Neither do I want to listen to such. Nothing from Vicky. It won't matter very soon. After tonight, they won't be able to call. I disconnect my plan from their phones. This plan also expires this week. I'll pick one up on Monday or Tuesday of next week. Brad, how are you doing at work? How are you going to respond? His father inquired. You and Mom own it, so you have a say. We don't know much about your work, Brad. I'm considering selling it. I've been mulling that idea over for a while. I had a fantasy of quitting my job early, getting Vicky to agree, and spending a few years seeing the globe. Well, that would have been an amazing trip, his mother said. Not at this time? Did I mention that she used our joint bank account to pay for her vacation to Aruba? What the devil did she do? Grace cried out. Oh, Aaron, please stop. That really is amazing. What's the matter with her? Making him pay for cheating is much worse. She needs to be given a lesson by someone. I concur, but really, Grace, the FW. Aaron, keep your strength up. Right now, I can't stand her. Please give me a moment. Okay, dear, no more FWs, please. All right, good. For Brad and you. All right. Now, on to the task. Do you have a specific buyer in mind? Brad's father inquired. Yes, a man who has shown interest for the last year. I'm going to give him a ring and we'll meet up. Is he a local? No, he's from Japan's Tokyo. Yes, I think I may need to go to Tokyo right now. Oh, that's quite a trip. Mom, I won't be there for very long. Going to be brief. How much time will it take? I'm not certain. Perhaps a few weeks. So what happens next? Not sure, shrugged Brad. Not just now, anyhow? Supper is on me. His father remarked, I'm hungry. Brad made sure the door was shut and turned off the light outside after his parents cleaned up with him after dinner. Mark had made several attempts to contact his father. He felt guilty about not intervening to stop his mother's foolish idea, and even more guilty about not informing his father. However, was this really such a big deal given their age? After 20 years together, Mark figured Dad must know that Mom was not trying to hurt him, it was just something she wanted to try. Mark contacted his sister. Hey, it's me. Have you attempted to contact your father? Yeah, he's not picking up. I believe he put us on hold. Yeah, well, Mom said he wouldn't want to talk right away. That doesn't mean he shouldn't. Mark, we made a mistake. Dad ought to have known right away. Is it important, Jen? Mom wants to do this, really. Assume Dad stopped her when we informed him. Would that now prevent her from attempting again, although more covertly? Mark, I'm not sure. Simply said, I'm not sure. But, Dad needed to know. He now believes that we don't care or love him. That is untrue. No, it's not. Yes, he must be feeling awful right now. Have you and Mom spoken recently? What is going on in your home? I gave her a call. She said he took a bunch of clothing and alcohol with him when he left. Alcohol? Dad? Yes, plenty of wine and that aged whiskey from Graham and Gramps. She believes he is someplace at a hotel, getting ready to have a big drink. Wow, I can't imagine Dad having a drink. He's never looked like that to me. No, that's not like Dad. Are you expecting him to return home before Mom leaves? I have no clue. What makes him do that? To prevent her from departing. Maybe chain her to the bed. Ha! I don't think Dad would do it. But that would be humorous. Except in cases when he needs extra goods, I truly don't see him returning home until next Saturday. If he even tries, I guess he waits for her to leave for work. Mark, this has to stop. We are terrible. Dad must believe we don't approve of him. What happens if he hurts himself? Like what, exactly? I'm not sure. He's sipping wine and vintage scotch by himself. Anything might occur. I think if he mixes that wine with the scotch, he'll just end up sick. Avoid being cruel. You understand what I mean? Hey, just relax. I can't respond to the questions you're posing. Please just unwind. I'm going to call Grandma and see if she's seen him. I wouldn't do that, Jen. Not at all. If Dad told her we sided with Mom, Grandma might get really mad at us. She wouldn't do that. Have you ever seen Grandma really angry? Indeed, I have. I won't take a chance. I'm not going to contact Grandma. You're scared? Yes, it's better to be afraid than wounded. I refuse to take that risk. Mark, screw you. I'm going to call Granny. Mark didn't believe phoning Grandma would work out, but Jennifer hung up, and 5 minutes later, she phoned back. Mark, Grandma is very upset. She screamed so loudly that I fear she cracked my ear. I no longer even have an eardrum. Now it resembles a tambourine. She was still screaming about blisters and a belt. How do we proceed? Avoid Grandma for a long time. Be real. I'm not sure. Perhaps give Mom a call. No, this is her fault. Yes, but where on earth could Dad be? Jen, I have no idea. The ancient home, maybe? No, it is fully hired. I believe the lease is for 3 years or something. He might be at a hotel, or perhaps he's at his workplace, maybe sleeping on a sofa or something. You're not smart. Our father dozing out on a couch. Are you thus naive all the time? Yep, it's a tough look to keep up, but I try my best. I'm not kidding, you're making jokes. Yes, Jen. It's something I tend to do when I'm afraid. You must thus always be afraid. I believe it would be best if we returned home tomorrow. We must locate Dad and make amends with him. Mom believes that would be premature. She suggests that we hold off till he settles down a little. And how many times has Mom been correct? This shouldn't be occurring at all. Her cheating on Dad is not appropriate. All okay, no problem. She ought not to cheat, yet she does. It is beyond our power to alter. She needs to quit, but she refuses to. Not very soon. If we return, what will we do? Hear Mom tell you more lies. She is someone I no longer want to listen to. You understand how she has complete control over us. Fine, Dad might just get a gun to shoot us. What is your strategy, then? If we return home, what do you think will happen? I have to attempt something, I'm not sure what to do. I must try, even if all I could do is holler at Mom. It still amazes me that I tolerated her infidelity. I'm shocked that I kept it from my father. Mark, it's getting to me. I must give it a go at anything at all. Well, Jen, whatever. Take action as you see necessary. Although I believe it's a waste of time, you are free to disagree. I will contact my mother and attempt to reason with her. When his phone rang, Brad was at the kitchen table, drinking very old scotch. He had been there for hours, drinking, and a full third of the bottle was gone. Brad was upset that he wasn't even buzzed from what he had drunk. Really, it was his body's fault, it could beat alcohol too quickly, so he never got to feel drunk. As a result, he didn't drink much. it felt like throwing away money and time. He spent hours alone, bottle in hand, reflecting on his life. He thought back to the first time he had met Vicky, their wedding, the birth of their children. He was there for those, the good and bad times with the family, the business growth, the dreams he and Vicky shared. All of it felt wasted, just gone now. "Sarah, what do you want?" He was no longer concerned with being polite. "Brad, how are you doing? How are you doing? Vicky said that you had departed. Sarah, did you know? What has she been doing? Sarah, why didn't you tell me? We had a tight relationship. Why? She's my sister, Brad. She managed to turn you against me as well. Fantastic. It's not like that, Brad? It is, indeed. Did your parents also know? Yes, Brad. They're not content. So everyone is against me. Brad, it's just a small thing. Perhaps to you. It's huge, in my opinion, said a furious Brad. Brad, what's up? Is it possible for me to see you? Not at all. Right now, I can't handle any of you. You are not welcome in my life. Avoid me at all costs, Brad said, cutting off her phone call and blocking all of his wife's family's numbers in the process. This is Mark, Mom. Has Dad given you any updates? Vicky Winston said, No, Mark, and I doubt I will, at least not for a few days. Have you received any word from him? No, Mother. He put mine and Jen's phones on block. I doubt I'll hear from him in the future either. Mark, please stop being so dramatic. Your dad is furious and disturbed. Though it's not the end of the world, he has the right to be. No, Mom, it isn't, but it feels like the end of our family. Mark, it's not. You're simply being foolish and self-centered. How dare you speak to me in such a manner? Mom, why not? I ought to have mentioned it long ago. You're acting so cruelly and selfishly by doing that. And now since you're going to Aruba, you're making things worse. Before you completely ruin our family, fix this. Jen intends to return the following day. What makes her do that? She's returning to find Dad and apologize to him. I believe she also wants to dissuade you from going on this pointless vacation. I've had enough of you talking to me like that, Mark. Unfortunately, Mom. You know you're being impolite to all of us by doing this. Why don't we say disgraceful instead of merely impolite? I've heard enough from you, Mark. Perhaps, but this has to be fixed quickly. This won't finish the way you anticipate. What are you trying to say? It implies that I don't support you. Jen's was gone, too. Grandpa and Grandma are aware of the situation. Grandma warned us that she would whip us all. I'll have her arrested if she tries, Vicky chuckled. Is Grandma concerned about spending a few days in jail? If you do, you're insane. Mom, please put an end to this madness and reconcile with Dad. Stay still, locate him, and beg his pardon. Mom, I'm done with you if you don't do it. What? That's not what you mean. Yes, I do, in fact. I regret not being there for my father. He needs us. You're going to lose Jen too, if this doesn't stop. Mom, I really do mean it. Put an end to it. No. Vicky attempted calling again after Mark hung up, but he didn't answer. Her phone rang again, this time from her sister Sarah, before she could get her message. I have a lot on my plate right now. Mark is raising a ruckus. Vicky, I just spoke with Brad. It is unsightly. What? How did he say it? Lord, Vicky, he said he's cutting us off. Oh, Sarah, he's just mad. He's gone beyond just insane. Vicky, his voice. Though his remarks were harsh and his voice cold, he's wounded. Really, sis, you didn't realize how angry he is. He means it when he says he's ditching the whole family, including mom and dad. You must immediately cease toying with him. Was he intoxicated? No, he had good judgment. Brad is furious, Vicky. Like we've never seen them angry. His voice frightened me, man. Why is everyone being so over the top? Vicky moaned. Vicky, that's garbage. His words have left me trembling. You're going to lose him permanently if you don't stop. I don't understand why you're doing this. We all will. Please refrain from mocking me. Continue your journey or visit with Nathan, and then end it. Maybe already, given that you turned his children against him. Please, why am I obligated to work with children? Vicky muttered. I don't care about you. You call me a child, and I'm here trying to keep your marriage intact. Never mind about you. Go on your journey, make more mistakes than you have, and start everything wrong. Never even consider giving me a call when he dumps you. Fuck you, Sarah said, hanging up. Vicky scowled, picked up the phone, and when Graham answered, she shouted a profanity and hung up. Vicky sighed, realizing the call had gone awry, and she was more cautious the following time. Dear, what do you want? Tell Brad about your stupid scheme, did you? I did, Mom. I guess he didn't like your plan or what you did before. No, Mother. He behaved just as I anticipated. He packed up his computer supplies and clothing and departed our house. Drank a good deal as well. Vicky, you are aware of your father, and I disagree with your actions and future plans. It's not good. Have you spoken with Mark? What? No. Why? Did he decide otherwise? It seems so. He merely threatened to end our relationship if I didn't follow my plan. Well, seems the boy finally grew a spine. Mom, that's no way to talk about your grandson. My way of thinking is different. These last several months, he has let us down. Glad to hear he's gained some courage. Brad has moved out, then. Can you guess where he went? No, Mother. Since he said the kids farewell at the home, neither I nor the kids have heard from him. However, Sarah recently spoke with him. Oh. To Sarah, what did he say? Nothing pleasant, it seems. He informed her that he was done with all of us. Dad as well as you. Well, that's not great. It's just for now, Mom. Vicky, I doubt it. Has Brad ever made a mistake or said something he didn't mean? No, never. You already know how this will end, then. Place a wager. Have you checked your bank accounts, by the way? The money for the children's education? Not at all. Why ought I to? Laughing, Vicky's mother said, your dad and I made a bet. Which wager? I bet your dad that Brad would take all the money out, even the kids' school fund, before he left. Vicky hung up the phone with her mother without waiting to check her desktop computer at home. When she turned on Windows, she shouted in dismay. Brad looked at the clock. It was 3:30 a.m., he had sat by himself at the kitchen table for about 6 hours, thinking over last night. He thought about every word Vicky said, every look she gave when she talked about her plans for the weekend, the ones that upset him. He felt angry and upset that the kids and her family backed her up. He drank a lot of scotch but didn't feel drunk. Deep down, he had made a big choice to sell his business. Late at night, he had sent a message to a possible buyer in Japan, asking to meet in the next weeks to talk about selling. The scotch made him think, but it didn't help with his pain or calm his thoughts. Then he realized something big. Vicky didn't say she loved him, not even once the day before when she told him her news. Saying I love you was a big part of their marriage. They always said it every single day for 20 years, but she didn't say it yesterday or last night, not even once. Brad was lost in a fog, his mind not clear because of the drinks. Yet even with his thoughts all muddled, he felt like he should get what was going on. Was she tired of him? Wanting someone new? Someone she loved already? She hadn't said it, but did that mean it wasn't true? Her not saying I love you and acting so carefree had to mean he wasn't important to her, right? Or to put it another way, he didn't matter to her. And those two kids, why would they go along with Vicky's scheme? Couldn't they see what she was doing to him? How could they not predict how he'd feel about her lies? That they would just turn their backs on him too. Brad was heartbroken. Turns out they sided with Vicky, tricking him for months. They both didn't care that their mom was being unfaithful. Mark's words, "lighten up," were so easy to say when you're not the one being left. And Jennifer, her mom had it coming, such dumb, shallow, cold words. Brad felt no point in trying to make sense of it anymore. Those two cared more for Vicky than for him, and nothing they said could undo that harsh truth. That's it, they chose her, not him. They couldn't care less about him. He was on his own now, truly alone. No wife, no kids, no family, zero. The life he knew and loved was over, finished. His new life started now. It was up to him what to make of it. He couldn't go back to what was, it was all gone. Brad usually kept his feelings hidden. He knew who he was and was okay with that. Vicky liked to call everyone friends, not Brad. For Brad, being called a friend meant much more. He once had a friend, Greg Moore, a guy he'd grown up with. They had been buddies since they were kids. But then Greg got sick with lupus and died in less than a year. Brad was never the same after losing Greg. From then on, he only really let his family get close. Others were just people he knew, some more than others, but never real friends in his eyes. The only ones he truly held dear were Vicky, Mark, and Jennifer. He gave them his all, always. But it seems it was never enough for them. Why? What was so big for Vicky to walk away like this? Wasn't his love enough? Was he too dull for her? Was there someone else she liked better? Did she think she and the kids were too good for him now? Was he just money to them? Had he always been? She didn't give a real reason, just that she wanted it for herself, like she needed space as if she was off to get her nails done or something. How could she think he'd be okay with this, think he'd just move on and forgive? That's not who he was. He told her straight, she took everything from him. He'd never forget or forgive, not her, not Mark, not Jennifer. He noticed his hands shaking and felt a tear on his cheek, quickly wiping it away. No tears, no feeling sorry for himself. He would miss his family, or what he thought was his family, but he wouldn't let the deep sadness beat him. Nope, they wouldn't rule over him. No one would? He knew Vicky well, better than she knew him, it seemed. She thought she could hurt him and just walk away. She believed a little short sorry from her would fix it all, making things go back to before. She thought she could get off easy, thinking she had him under control. But she was wrong. Just because he didn't hold on to anger before doesn't mean he'd let it slide this time. Drunk or sober, his anger wouldn't go away now. Damn cheating woman. If he wasn't good enough for her, then so be it. Her loss. His life was his, and like the saying goes, she didn't own him. No, they could throw him away, but he didn't have to lay low. He might simply stand up, pick himself up, and go away. They said he had no meaning for them. Well, They had no meaning for him anymore. Not any longer. He just let them go. Though difficult, it is feasible. In the end, he was wealthy. Thanks for seeing me, Brad. I really didn't think you would, said Irene, his mother-in-law, as she met him for lunch that Thursday. I'm still trying to get why I said yes to your call at work, Irene. I don't know what to think. Irene took Brad's hand across the table. Brad, you are like the son Bert and I never had. I know you think Bert and I helped Vicky in her bad choices, but I want you to know we didn't. We both don't agree with what she did and what she plans to do. Please believe that. Brad was sure Irene was not lying to him.
Thank you for watching part 1. Please subscribe to the channel and please click the link to part 2 below the description. If you find these content useful, please share them with your friends and family. Thank you for your support and have a great day.